how do you see yourself networking even before you get to Congress with the other representatives who are running and saying, if we get there, we are going to unite. We're going to take this fire into the halls. We're not going to be not listened to. Thank you.
Well, I'm identifying people that share my same values. And I came into this, I went from being angry and ready to start Bobistan and, thinking it was done. We were too far gone. To listen to a woman named Michelle Bachmann speak on the afternoon of August 29th. And Michelle Bachmann, very conservative Republican from Minnesota, who walks the walk. Pro-life, she's got 5 kids of her own, she's adopted 23 kids. Okay, there's a woman, physically conservative, morally conservative. I'd like to be in there covering her back. Jason Chavetz from Utah, the guy who defeated an incumbent rhino and then won the election as now one of the junior congressmen. He's the guy who is sleeping on a cot in his office because he believes in fiscal responsibility and he wants to walk the walk. Man, I'd like to be standing back to back with that man, and we'll take them on back to back. But guys like Alan West that I listened to last night, if we can create a core group of people, if you build it, they will come. So last night, my son sent me a thing that I'm up on a blog, a national blog now, that says, the 3rd Congressional District is vulnerable. Conservatives can take that back. And we could probably find that in there. But at any rate, he says that the Republicans are kind of leaning towards a guy named Scott Tipton, and Scott lost in 2006, and I don't want a rerun of that. But there's a guy who's riding around on a horse. He calls himself the Cowboy Colonel. And I've looked at his website, and if he's as good as what he says in his website, then that's the guy. Well, I didn't contact him, but if I build it, they will come. And that's the way we got to take her back. We do this one precinct, one county, one state at a time, but we take it back. What do I think about immigration? Well, securing our borders, we had the 9/11 Commission report identified that as one of our highest priorities. That report came out in 2002. It's now 2009. How much progress have we made securing our borders? And when I talk about securing our borders, we don't necessarily have to build a huge fence. We have technologies in terms of motion sensors, heat detectors. The border security people just bought 2 Predator drones. Yeah. Because that gives us the capability to fly unseen but detect movement. So I think we build a fence, electronically probably, instead of a hard wall, but we stop the immigration, and then we open the gate, because a fence has a gate in it. And people come through that gate and they're provided a biometric identification card, but we welcome to come through the gate. Come through and get involved legally. The second piece is, what do we do with the people that are here? Much more difficult. Because first of all, we don't have a handle on that number. If you're listening to a group that's an advocate for citizenship for illegal immigrants, they're saying it's 30 million. If you're listening to somebody else, they're saying it's 15 million. Everybody has a different number. The first thing we need to do is get a handle on how many people we have here illegally. And then I think we need to send them back to their home country, have them go through the process of coming here legally by going to the American embassy, the American consulate. So now we're narrowed it down to the more difficult part. In the 9/11 Commission report, they suggested that every American citizen have a biometric identification card. Now, I've asked a lot of groups how you feel about that, and I've had one man stand up in favor of it. And how do you all feel about a biometric federal identification card? Are we willing as a nation to go with everyone having to carry a biometric identification card? Yeah, do you want an ID card that says Bob owns 16 firearms? And their serial numbers are, and it's a scary, scary thing.
Bob has had 2 heart attacks, or Bob had whatever it was.
Well, now, I don't know that this has medical data on it, but I do know that the active duty military ID card, at least I've heard this, does now have medical data.
But
So
when
you're in the
the
battlefield.
military, you know you're going to carry one of those,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and so you agree to do that
Yeah.
when you sign up.
Yeah.
That's not a problem, okay?
Yeah.
It's for the citizens
Yeah.
who, if they sign up for this, is going to say there's certain things we don't want to have put on.
Well, I'm not an advocate yet for this, but what if, this has not only my biometric identification, but it has critical data about my medical conditions. So I'm in a car accident. The first guy arrives on scene, finds my wallet, pulls the card, scans it, and says, well, this guy has had 16 bypasses, or, we need to get him flighted right away. Maybe some of that medical data could be on there. I think we got to be terribly careful about what's on there, and maybe each person could give permission. So I know from ambulance that people carry medical alert bracelets or necklaces that say, I'm a diabetic or whatever it happens to be. They've chosen to do that. That's critically important to a first-line care provider, that I know somebody's, because if they're unconscious, I need to know they're diabetic before I start my treatment. And I was thinking about this last night, and the beauty of capitalism is people have the freedom to succeed, but also the risk of failure. That's the beauty of it, because the risk of failure incites people to do their best. Well, now how do we maintain that enthusiasm for doing your best? Well, it's by being a role model for people. So I earned my military retirement. I proselytize to young men who are lost and don't know what they should do with their lives. Get involved in the military. I believe in that. I want to be a role model for those people, so I don't want my military retirement taken away from me. I don't want it to be taxed to give to somebody who doesn't know what they should be doing. Get in the military and do something. And so I think it's critically important that we stand up and be proud of what we've accomplished and fight every effort to take that away from us. Because we need to be a role model. That's what makes capitalism work, is by seeing that a man like the founder of Microsoft, I'm missing his name right now, Gates, he lines up with a buddy, and they put $1,000 in the bank, and they go in the garage, and 30 years ago, now he's created thousands of millionaires. He himself is the richest man on earth. Well, should we be jealous of that, or should we be proud of that? That the freedom we have allows somebody to do that.
He's also an incredible philanthropist.
Oh, yeah.
Gives away so much money, it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, should we take that money away from him and the government decide where to give it?
He's a fat
Or
guy.
let him, he has a foundation that's doing tremendous work on AIDS and malaria in Africa. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I think they're funded over $1 billion that they so they have a corpus that they can use to create wealth and then give that money to people in need. So I hope I've addressed that question, but I think we should fight every effort to take away what we have earned, because we are the role model. We should be proud of what we've done.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about profiling? And what would you do to kill this political correctness? It's kind of like a cancer inside us.
Yeah. Well, the political correctness, the First Amendment protects my right to practice the religion of my choice, or not practice any religion at all. So the fundamental conflict there is when you have a religion that preaches destruction of the country in which you want to practice your religion. And not all Muslims, but the terrorists want to destroy us. They've said that. So how do you balance their right to practice their religion against our right to live in freedom? Well, I think you come down and say, if that's your belief, then that is, first of all, it's not a religion. We've got Supreme Court decisions that say there are limits on what a religion is and what it isn't. So when Utah came into the United States, there was a debate and a compromise, and the compromise to allowing Utah in the United States was that the religion, the Mormon religion, had to give up polygamy. That was the trade-off. We'll let you in, but you can't be polygamous anymore. So we can say to religions, you are a religion and you can practice your religion, but there are limits to what is religious. And saying you want to kill, destroy, that's not religion.